All right, let's go. Welcome to eCom Raw Reality episode 14. And in this video, I want us to talk about e-commerce as always, but more precisely looking holistically at the three main pillars for e-commerce. And that is, first of all, traffic. As you might know, in most cases, it is either paid ads or organic. Personally, I'm more into paid ads, not as much into organic, so you won't find info about that. But regarding paid ads, we could talk all day, all night. Then the second pillar, conversion, because if you send traffic to a website, ideally you are able to convert it. And this is where you need to look at the numbers. And actually in episode 13, I talked more about that, about landing pages, how important it is to think about the psychology, about the AOV and so on. So ideally you should also watch that if you haven't. And then the third part, retention, and more or less that's email marketing, right? So let's look at all three of them, because we have traffic, then we have the conversions, and then we have the retention, the long time value, email and SMS. So first of all, traffic. Well, with this, you can get cheaper traffic, you can convince more people, and you can be more persuasive. So you definitely need to know psychology, marketing, copy. All of these things matter, although in different, I would say, proportions, depending on the niche, the product, what's the competition, where are you selling? Are you selling in a country that's, let's say, underdeveloped? So that means cheaper clicks, more opportunity. And then you also need to look at what are the numbers overall. Does it make sense to pay €1, $1, £1 per click and send that traffic? Because if that traffic doesn't convert, there's a problem. So when it comes to traffic, as we know, we have so many options, right? We do have organic, which in most cases might be TikTok, nowadays at least, or Instagram, although honestly less so, just because Meta doesn't let you just get as much organic as you want in most cases as easily. That's why they have the paid advertising platform. And when it comes to advertising, so this is where you have a bunch of platforms such as Meta, Google, Snapchat, TikTok, Pinterest, and all of them do come with some opportunities at different times. And that's why, for example, you always need to be in the game and actually understand the platforms, work with them, or ideally at least understand them, right? Because maybe you are not a paid ads guy. If you're not, that's all right. But I also want to mention all three of them, because if you don't understand the entire process, you will be burned, either as an eCom owner, as an agency. Because for example, as an agency, if you do an amazing job on the paid ad side, but the conversions, the email team, they suck, then you will also get lower performance. So that's why it's really important to look at all components, all pillars, and see where there's a gap. Because personally, like, I almost always crush, right? I want to be actually humble here, but it's very rare that I see someone else in the past doing a better job than me on the paid side. However, that doesn't mean that the business is doing better just because I'm there, right? Because, for example, I can't crush it as much in the first quarter of a year compared to the fourth quarter, right? So we need to compare apples to apples, right? And even then, you don't actually compare apples to apples, because 2025 versus 2024, different economical environment, different inflation, different debt out there, right? So almost no specific time in any year is exactly the same as another year, right? And I know a lot of people look year over year, month over month, and so on, but the truth is that doesn't make any sense, right? That's why having critical thinking is so important. Because if you have a broad view of what's happening in the entire world, but also in your small space there in eCom, then you get a better understanding and understand that sometimes there's a reason why that thing doesn't work right now, right? So there are so many factors, but on the paid side, you can look at CPMs, click-through rate, CPCs, and that's something that you can control. So definitely you need to make sure that you can control whatever is within your power on that end. But then let's come to the second pillar, and that is conversions, right? Because you can get people with amazing marketing to get on your page, right? And then on the page, it's actually a mix of marketing, selling, because you actually need to have even better, I would say, copy on the page and even better visuals. I mean, maybe not better than on the ad, because the ad has just the purpose of actually like getting a click, right? Making sure that what's on the ad kind of correlates with what's on the landing page. Doesn't need to be 120%, but to some extent very close. And on the landing page, this is where many brands still don't really have a great lander. And I'm not even talking about advertorials here, but just like product page, right? And I think this is where Shopify could do a better job making it easier. I know Shopify has made it pretty easy because it offers you the option to have so many apps out there that, yeah, there's no excuse. I mean, you should be trying some apps for landing pages. And this is where CRO agencies or let's say businesses that offer landing pages can help, right? There are so many that offer Figma designs, and then you can implement those. And yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you need to get good at something, right? And there's a huge difference between a lander that has 1%, a 2%, or a 30%, or 1, 2, and 3% conversion rates respectively. Because 1% conversion rate at, let's say you pay $1 cost per click, right? $100 to bring in 100 people. At 1%, you get just one person from those 100 to convert, right? If it's an AOV of, let's say 100, you will break even. Probably you'll lose money actually, because of one ROAS, that's not enough. So that won't work. 2%, that means that at a $100 AOV, you make $200, you invest 100, 2 times ROAS. Huge difference. You probably break even or even make a profit. And 3%, you make $300 with 100 invested. This is where you actually make all of that money, when you have the right numbers. And this is where you need to play with AOV. This is where you need to play with conversion rate and actually balance them, because it's a balance. If you increase the price of something, the conversion rate will go down in most cases. Less people are willing to spend a lot of money, right? While if it's a $10 product, way too many people will actually convert, and it's going to be a high conversion rate, probably. It's like the free plus shipping years ago, but you will pay like $100 to get a sale of $10. Won't make sense. So you need to actually adjust and make sure that you're in the right spot here. And then with that, let's look at the last part, because sometimes you just won't get the right numbers, meaning that you will break even. You will pay $50 to acquire a customer and you will have an AOV of $50, right? Or let's say $60, and you'll break even. And if you break even, it means you don't make any profit on that first sale. But this is where the third pillar comes into place, and that is retention, customer lifetime value, email, SMS. And email is definitely not dead. It will never be, most likely. I mean, who knows, in 50 years from now or 100, when we probably won't be here unless life extension actually works, and we'll just live 200 years instead of 100 or 80, because I mean, even 100 is a stretch at this point. So lifetime value, this is a huge one, because think of it like this: the more you can think long term, the better it is in most cases, right? We can look at this with investing, with relationships, with so many things. When you hurry, you actually make mistakes, and that's a huge problem, right? For example, that's why I don't want actually to grow too much on YouTube, because I've done it in my native language in the past, and I would say that I wasn't ready. Like, I wasn't aware, or I was in an environment that was new. And of course, when you're in a new environment, you don't know how to act exactly, right? You maybe don't realize exactly the role that you're given, right? Because at some point I was surprised that people were actually listening to what I was saying and actually doing what I was saying that I was doing, right? And then I realized, oh wow, wait, if I jump off a cliff, other people might jump off a cliff, right? It wasn't that extreme, but still, to make an analogy here. And that was, I would say, something that did shift my perspective, because until that point, right, as an introvert, as someone who doesn't speak a lot in general, I didn't know that I have so much influence, right, over other people. And then over time, you do realize that if you've grown enough, you actually give, let's say, good advice, right? But sometimes it's not the best advice, right? It's something that you need to think of before speaking. The fact that there is some context to that thing, right? That's why I'll rarely say magnesium is the best out there, right? Or, I mean, magnesium is actually one of the best out there in terms of supplements, but I won't say paid media is the best, organic is the best, email is the best, right? Because, I mean, they can't all be the best, first of all, right? And then I know there's a bias. I mean, at one point, it's probably a bias if you believe something. So that's why ideally we are flexible. And this is actually, in most cases, a sign of intelligence, which also can hold you back, because if you're never sure, you'll always overthink and not take action, right? So there's a fine balance there, but we won't talk about that right now. That's another subject for another time. So we'll come back to email, because if we think long term, if you acquire someone, right, a customer, and if you think 1, 2, 3 years, are they likely to buy again? And if your product, your service was good, they are very likely, right? It's the same in the agency world or in eCom. If you offer a good service the first month, they will pay you the second month, the third month. If you offer a good product, they will come back again. Not sure if it's going to be next month, 2 months later, 3 months later, but if they see an ad, maybe they might not be convinced, right? But if you are in their inbox a couple of times and they see you consistently, then it's that repetition that makes someone eventually trust you, because they see you're there all the time, right? And this is a trust builder, because it makes sense. It's not someone who's there just to grab your money just for a short time. They are there for a longer time. You can actually see it, right? You look back, you see all of the emails, you see all of the videos that have been posted, you see all of the client results and so on, right? So depending on the scenario, thinking long term and actually doing good work never fails. This is like a best practice, right? And never is a strong word, but never means just like in 99% of cases, right? Do the right thing for a long amount of time and it's impossible not to win. And win is a word that we can throw around a lot, but at least be above average, let's say, right? Because in some cases, this is what we want to be. If we put in effort, extra effort, so more than the average, of course, eventually it is likely that you'll increase your chances of luck, your surface area of luck. And we'll maybe talk about that at another time, because this video is around 13-14 minutes. So more than enough, I would say. So short recap, we have been talking about paid media, the traffic part, then the conversion part, CRO, landing pages, and then the third part, retention, email, SMS. And SMS is actually pretty powerful, but can't use it as much as email. You don't want someone to send you an SMS all the time. It's kind of annoying. So only for special occasions. And with that, we'll end it for today. If you've actually enjoyed this, leave a like, leave a comment if you have any kind of feedback or any thoughts you want to share. And until next time, peace out.